All right, guys, back here at Southeastern 14 with Max Barr, and we are sharing our reaction to the SEC basketball games from the weekend. Sometimes we do it on Sunday if there's a big Saturday slate. There was a big Saturday slate, but there are also two interesting games on Sundays. We decided to put all these together into one here on Monday for you guys, and we'll talk all about a lot of games here, a lot of interesting outcomes. But before we get there, let's talk about our friends at BetOnline. As always, it remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL, all in full swing. BetOnline, your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions, both desktop and mobile access at any time. So head on over to BetOnline today. Use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, back to Saturday. Max, let's start at the top, and we will run through all these games, spend a little more time on some than others. This one came out of nowhere. Two SEC teams just putting up 100 spots on Saturday, and might not have been the two you would have expected. This one definitely was not one that we expected. Mississippi State 106, Tulane 76. Like, this was just where did this come from, Max? Mississippi State putting up 106 points after really the talk about them has been, boy, they're struggling again on offense. Georgia Tech and Southern. It's like, uh-oh. And they score 106 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just trying to make us look bad, Blake. That's what I think's going on here. I mean, hey, not going to complain. I don't think this is really more of a Mississippi State's offense is back. I think it's more of just, wow, they had a great day. They had a great day shooting the ball. Hubbard drops 22 in the first half. I mean, anything he shot went in. He's shooting 42% from three on the year. I mean, that's just incredible. I said going into this, I said, hey, let's look at how the backcourt minutes are spread out. Chris Jans has been up and down with this thing. I think this has got a good idea of how we're going to be going forward. Trey Fort, only 9 minutes. He's behind four other guys. It's Hubbard, it's Shaq Moore, it's Davis. And then behind there, Andrew Taylor, Sean Jones Jr., Trey Fort kind of fill in. But that's how I'm thinking this backcourt's going to run going forward. And hey, defense is still there. Step in the right direction, but I don't want to take too much away from it.
Yeah. Well, again, when you score back-to-back games, only hitting 59 points, and then you come out for 106, we're going to take something away from it. We just may not, jump fully on board yet. As you guys can hear, by the way, the construction's still going on, but the Mississippi State offense, no longer a work in progress. They're back. They're putting up 100 on Wednesday against Murray State. Book it right now. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be tough to do, but like you said, it's a step in the right direction. There's no question about that after those two games that they played against Georgia Tech and Southern. But interesting rest of the non-conference for them, though. I mean, I talk about that game against Murray State. They got North Texas, then Rutgers after that. So all winnable games, games they should win, I think. But still, we'll see how the offense continues to evolve for the Bulldogs. All right, Kentucky gets a win over Penn, 81-66. Of course, the most notable thing here, Max, is the official return or debut, I guess. I'm going to say return. I mean, guy hasn't played up until this point, right? He's played two games, played the Wilmington game a little bit, but I think this is where we officially mark the return debut of Aaron Bradshaw. Again, we're throwing out the Wilmington game. That doesn't count. I mean, right? We can't count that one. So I think that's how I was thinking in my mind. I was like, oh, yeah, he did play against Wilmington, but this is kind of the one where you see what he's capable of. Whereas in that game, it felt like they were easing him back in a little bit. This one, though, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks, 29 minutes. A good performance for Aaron Bradshaw here. And like I said, this was much different than what we saw in the Wilmington game. And that's to be expected because we knew this guy's going to play a big role. But this was something that definitely stood out here as the Cats get the win.
Knew he was going to be big. Knew he was going to have a big role, like you said. But how about like the effort plays and the hustle plays by Bradshaw? I mean, Penn would miss a shot. Kentucky would just come down with a rebound, and Bradshaw takes off and is just beelining towards the rim. Like he has just got so much energy to him. Completely changes his front court. And how about Trey Mitchell so far? 35 assists, only 11 turnovers. Playing really nice as kind of a point forward there. Sometimes in their half court offense. Kentucky has reached 80 points in 8 out of 9 games. Okay. Yeah, pretty much the formula right here. We were saying it with Alabama. You're going to have to outrun them. You're going to have to score 80 plus to beat this team. And I think we're starting to get a solid 8-man rotation here. We saw it in this last game, and 4 out of those 8 guys are 6'8" or taller. they like have some sneaky length, sneaky defensive like pressure with their length on the perimeter. Points off turnovers 22-5. I mean, that's what you're going to see from this Kentucky team. I think we're starting to see the ball roll with this team. I think they're starting to hit their stride. And we had them number 1 in the conference last week, and I don't know if they're moving anywhere, Blake. I don't know if they're moving anywhere.
We'll find out on Tuesday. We're going to do our power rankings, and I can tell you for a second week in a row, these things are probably going to be all over the place.
All over the place.
So we'll see if Kentucky's still at 1. Remember, folks, they were at 1 last week after losing to Wilmington. So, hey, that's what happened with the composite staff rankings. We'll see where everyone ranks them this week, and if they keep the number 1 spot, which I will tell you, if they win on Saturday, they will probably keep the number 1 spot, or they'll be a number 1 next week because they play North Carolina on Saturdays. We know
they're beating North Carolina.
Oh, all right. You heard it here first. So Max is calling a shot before we even do the preview. So no need to watch it, folks. Don't even watch it now. He's picking Kentucky. So I'm just kidding. Please watch it. Hit the subscribe button. All right. There is another team in the SEC. There are now 2 teams in the SEC that have hit the 8-win mark. One of the and 2 teams that were picked in the bottom 4 of the league. What do you know? South Carolina is one of those teams. They're now 8-1 as they get the win over East Carolina. We talked about this game. I told you. I was worried for the Gamecocks here. I'm like, this is one of those tricky road games. Coming off the road game at Clemson, playing East Carolina team that's, there's been some good, there's been some bad. But they did beat Wilmington, as we said. The 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever it is. It's like the 6 degrees of UNC Wilmington here. But South Carolina gets the win. They're 8-1. And I think this was like, here's I got my notes for this one. Business as usual for South Carolina now. Like your big 4 guys step up, play well. You get Davis with a 9-point game off the bench. Wright didn't score in this one, but still, it always comes back to your big 4 of Cooper, Mack, Johnson, and Stute, and they get the job done here once again in what was not the prettiest performance for the Gamecocks, but they find a way to get the victory.
East Carolina's not bad. Watch this game. They're not bad at all.
They've just been inconsistent this year.
Yeah.
I didn't think they looked bad, but yeah, they've just been inconsistent.
Their best player, Ezra Osar, however you say it, he was injured for a little bit. East Carolina's not bad. This is a good one. This is a game last year that South Carolina would probably have lost. And I'm saying that because BJ Mack and Stephen Clark were both in a little bit of foul trouble. Found another way to win this game. Past 3 games from 3 for South Carolina. 9 threes, 10 threes, 18 threes. That 18, that was like school record breaking. Don't expect 18 threes a game. But this team can shoot. Team can really shoot, and they're doing it consistently. So yeah, hey, that's a great little note you had there, Blake. Business as usual. Start to expect it.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we're at, South Carolina now. Like, you just expect a win. They play Charleston Southern on Saturday. They are, according to KenPom, a 24-point favorite in that game. Charleston Southern, 3-5, has beaten 2 teams outside of Division I. They beat South Carolina State, who was 346 in KenPom, by 2. Not this past Saturday, the Saturday before. So, should be another big win for the Gamecocks on that one. So, going to keep it rolling. The Lamont Paris and Company. Expected at this point.
Yep.
All right, let's get to this one. This was a big game, maybe the biggest of the weekend. Tennessee 86, Illinois 79. Big win for the Vols. We said going in, this was a very important game for them, given that it felt like, maybe the 3 best opportunities at this point. Although now, Wisconsin, I know they lost the game to Arizona, but still, Wisconsin is a good win for Tennessee, but Tennessee just needed to add another one of those. And this was the best opportunity they had left on the non-conference schedule. They beat Illinois 86-79. They rallied, certainly had a stretch there. What was it? Probably the second half of the first half, where they just could not do anything. Got off to a fine start, but then just kind of hit a wall there. But they find a way to get it done. And we talk about just kind of the depth on this team. 8 guys here play at least 15 minutes, and everybody contributes something, right? Like, even if it's a Waka who, only plays 15 minutes, but he gives you 7 rebounds. I know he had fouls, but still, I just think that's what I keep going back to. For Tennessee to win the game like this, it was significant. Dalton Connect leads them in scoring. That's no surprise anymore. But to get more balanced scoring out of other guys, which you got, all 5 starters in double figures here. And then again, just to get something out of everybody else that comes off the bench, whether it's Awaka, Meshack, Gainey. Total team win here, I thought, for Tennessee.
Welcome back, Mr. Ziegler. little
Your
round of
guy.
applause. Come on now. 11
Yeah.
points, 4 assists, 0 turnovers. More importantly, though, Marcus Domask coming off of a 30 bomb on FAU where he looked incredible. 6 points, 2 of 11 field goals, 0 threes, 2 turnovers, 1 assist. Ziegler was in his shorts all game, and it doesn't even account for all of the jump balls Ziegler got. I mean, that was his best game by far of the year. So, hey, that's what this Tennessee team looks like when you get what you think you're going to get out of your best guys. Vescovi got game MVP on Ken Pom. So I just thought the guards finally stepped up, finally played like they normally do. And then, hey, we said Jonas Adu starting to come on. This is 3 straight games in double digits for Adu. He's starting to get that little mid-range jumper down a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, Connect's playing like an All-American. The guards have their best game yet. Owaka's healthy. Here's the Tennessee team we thought we were going to see. Here they are, starting to get the ball rolling here. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's a great win. I mean, we mentioned, I mean, Illinois, you think about how that game played out. Like, Illinois started to make their move after a decent start, and then you're like, uh-oh, like, is Tennessee gonna be able to find enough? And then they did. They wind up leading, I think, as much as 12, something like that in the second half. So, yeah, this team is just they're tough when they lock down, and when you've got that kind of balance scoring, which like we mentioned before, that's always been a problem. It seems like for Tennessee is you just feel like you rely too much on one guy. Yes, Connect is the guy. We know that now, but that's what we mentioned going this like as the season has progressed, it's you've got all these other guys who've proven they can score. And so you got that here and they needed it to get the win. And this was just a significant win for Tennessee. Given that, the rest of their non-conference, Georgia Southern, NC State, which is not a bad one, Tarleton State and Norfolk State. That's the rest. So you weren't going to get those huge opportunities left. Balls get one here, huge, and we will see if they move into number one in our power rankings this week. I'm curious. I think they're going to get some first place votes on the staff. We'll find out.
Ooh,
We'll find out. We'll see. So listen, I
interesting.
don't make the rules here. All right, this one we're not spending much time on. Kansas State 75, LSU 60. Anything that you would like to add here on this one, Max? I just don't have a lot. I mean, LSU, it's just going to be a struggle. I don't know how else to say it. When you watch them play, like they're just offensively, there are just too many things I think that they're going to have to overcome this season, which, deja vu, right? Like that was the case last season with LSU as they just struggled so much offensively to get a rhythm, which they weren't great defensively either, but they're not bad on that side of the floor. And one thing that's helping is they are forcing some turnovers, but they're going to need to force a lot more to be able to get easier looks because it's not there right now offensively. Now, I will say, defensively, you kind of know what to expect from Kansas State. They're going to be a hard-nosed defensive team under Jerome Tang, and we saw that last year. But yeah, this was just another one though that another home game where LSU just doesn't look great and just outmatched here against the Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, 39-26 in the rebounding category, and Kansas State's not like this huge, imposing physical team. LSU right now, I'm sorry, they're just soft to me. Just soft. Got out rebounded by Syracuse. Syracuse doesn't rebound. It's crushed on the boards by Kansas State. Kansas State's not that big. There's just no grit, no heart and soul to this front court. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I don't want to be too negative because we still have a lot of basketball, to be played here before conference play starts. But man, if this team does not get a little bit of toughness in the front court, I mean, Will Baker 2 rebounds, Jalen Reed 3 rebounds, no starter had over 3 rebounds. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you doing out there? So yeah, until this team gets a little bit of toughness, a little bit of front court play, my outlook on them is not too great.
Not ideal for the Tigers, who we talk about rest of the non-conference schedule. They're going to play Texas here on Saturday, and so and they start SEC play. 2 of their first 3 games on the road at A&M, at Auburn. They got Vanderbilt at home, but
And that's going to be a pissed off Texas team coming off of a loss.
yeah. So Texas, that is their next game. You're right. So so we'll see what happens in that one. LSU struggling a bit right now. All right, let's move on to another loss for the SEC. This was the other headliner we thought going into the weekend. Purdue 92, Alabama 86. I mean, look, I don't really know, I guess, what to say other than I mean, the theme is there, right? Like the common thread that ties all this together for Alabama is right there
Yeah.
in front of you. And, I mentioned it last time. Ohio State 92, Clemson 85, Purdue 92, right? Now Alabama scoring. They're scoring points. There's no doubt about it. But it's just in these kind of games against big teams, like we said, even against Oregon, they won that one 99-91, but they give up 91. Um, it's just the style they play, right? And we know to expect this now. Like we have enough of a sample size to see that these are the kind of games that Alabama is going to play this season. They're going to play a lot of high scoring games because a lot of teams are going to struggle to stop them, but they're going to struggle to stop a lot of teams too. And so this is just the game. And so, but you have so little room for error, right? When you get in those kind of games, because you need those places where you just have to lock down for 1 minute and get two stops, on two possessions or something. And they struggle to do that right now. Right now, look, every game you're not going to go up against a Zach Edey who's going to score 35 points and do all the things he did and make every free throw he shoots. And then Braden Smith goes for 27. I mean, really, that's the game right there. Just those two, those two guys, and then of course for Alabama, Mark Sears goes off for 35. This was a great, performance game in terms of seeing, some individual performances here and what these guys could do. And of course, Alabama makes 19 threes or whatever. It's just, yeah, it's one of those things now where you look at it and I mean, this was a great opportunity for Alabama, right? Got off to a great start, scored 30 points in the first 10 minutes of the game. Um, but Purdue is Purdue for a reason, and they just were able to make the plays down the stretch and kind of take control, down the stretch run of the game, and Purdue gets a big win.
I cannot stand Purdue. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm so
I
sorry.
think
I just cannot
good to
stand
know.
watching Purdue games. They are brutal. I mean, it's just we're not even watching college basketball. I mean, 5 minutes in, there's 7 guys in foul trouble. Both coaches are screaming at the refs. I'm like, "What are we watching?" It's brutal that no ref knows how to ref a game with Edie in it. I mean, he goes, what, 30 minutes without a foul being called on him? Come on. I walked away from this game wanting to throw my phone through a TV, and I don't even have a dog in this race. So, gosh, I'm glad I don't have to watch Purdue again. But I'll say this for Alabama to cover the spread, covered the spread with a Grant Nelson playing through injury. Um, I thought it was a decent result. I think Alabama's walking away not with their tail between their legs and their head down, is what I'm trying to say. Wagi looks good. He continues to look like one of the probably better than Pringle. He should start. I think he should start next to Nelson. Um, and Estrada didn't really score much, but I think that wasn't really Estrada having an off night. I think that was more just Mark Sears was having like one of the best nights of his life, and it was just let this guy take control of the game. So I don't think it's any sort of knock on Estrada. I think Estrada is just fine. And Alabama only got out rebounded by 5. Purdue had 10 offensive rebounds. Alabama had 10 offensive rebounds. I thought it was a good fight. I thought they fought. I thought it was a good performance. They gotta nail one of these 2 next games, though. I think the better opportunity is coming up here on Saturday against Creighton.
Yeah, it is the best opportunity of the group, which that's like it's like picking from I don't know what, right? When you're playing Purdue, Creighton, and Arizona, but yeah, this is the one, and it's it's the only true road game of the group, and so that's not going to be easy. But yeah, I mean, again, Alabama offensively is just a juggernaut. Like there's just no question about it at this point. There's no doubt. They're going to be able to score with anybody, but we'll just see how the defense continues to progress. Right now there's that huge gap, and that's kind of one of the things I said. You think about the team a couple years ago. They went 19 and 14, I think. One of the best. Not they weren't a great offensive team. Now, don't get me wrong; their efficiency numbers were good, but like they shoot it. They didn't shoot well from three. They turned the ball over a bit. This team's a little bit different now. They're not turning the ball over. They're shooting it well from three. 41% now. That's top 6, I think, in the nation. They're shooting it well from everywhere, really, when you look at it. So there is a little bit of a difference, but again, the gap with that team was the fact that defense numbers, the defensive numbers just weren't there. And so far, Alabama, the defensive numbers just aren't there. So, that's been the difference. But I still think, again, they're one of those teams where really hard to kind of pinpoint, and we'll see where they
Mm.
land in our power rankings this week because the upside is probably unlike anyone else in the SEC. Like that they may have, and I think I would keep Tennessee and Kentucky in there, but scoring wise, like they're the best scoring team in the league. Like, there's no
Yeah.
question.
Best
You
scoring
know,
team in the country right now.
yeah, right. As you say, so it's like there's not even a doubt about that. So if you look at it from that standpoint, like they may still have the highest upside to me, but it's all about they have to get better defensively, and I just don't know, how that progresses. And the numbers aren't going to be great probably after these next two games either because they're going to get scored on against Creighton and Arizona. Like even if
Yeah.
they win the games, they're going to give up points because you know who you're playing against. So yeah, I'm just this is a big, like we said, this is a huge stretch for Alabama. This 11-day stretch, Purdue, Creighton, Arizona. Just need to get one of them. And I do think, like you said, this next one's going to be probably the best bet of the group because Arizona, we've seen what they're doing right now. So yeah, we'll see for the Tide moving forward. But all right, let's talk about this next one, which I know Max has got some interesting thoughts on. Auburn 104, Indiana 76. Now, you and I debated before we went into the weekend. We recorded some games, then we had some technical issues. We couldn't get to everything we wanted to get to, but we kind of debated this one. We're like, all right, these two teams, you just don't know what to expect, right? I think you called it a weird game. Like, we're like, all right, we're just not going to record this one because this just felt like a weird game. Well, what do you know? It wound up being a weird game because I don't think any of us could have probably projected that Auburn's going to win this game 104-76. So it winds up being a weird game. Of course, Auburn hits 14 threes because, of course, they did, right? And so this was one of those that we had no feel for going in. And what do you know? It winds up being just one of those wacky results that I just probably would not have expected. I'm not saying I wouldn't have expected Auburn to win because I thought they should have won, but to basically, and what's interesting about that, right? Like I'm looking at the play by play here because I had to go back and try to mark this, but like Indiana is up 22-10 with 12 and a half minutes left in the first half. So think about that, right? Auburn has 10 points with like 8 minutes into the game. They got 10 points. They wind up scoring a 104. Indiana has a 12-point lead. They wind up getting beat by 28. Unbelievable, this game. Just ridiculous.
You said Auburn made how many threes, Blake?
14.
14. Okay. So in the previous two games coming into this, they were 5 for 43
Yeah,
against
right?
against Virginia Tech and App State. What happened? I have no clue. You have 25 assists to only 2 turnovers. I mean, I can't think of a cleaner offensive game. Janai Broom only scores 2 points. He only scores 2. So yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams had a huge game. Holloway had his best game yet. Indiana's in trouble, I think. Indiana has no spacing, literally no spacing. I don't know if they're even a tournament team. But I mean, hey, I was a little bit worried about Auburn's guards and their shooting with that 5 for 43 stretch, but maybe this answered some questions. They got UNC Asheville before USC. I'm really interested in that USC game now. But yeah, I mean, geez, 104.
I mean, yeah. And like I said, I mean, the assisted turnovers in this game just bonkers. Like, you just would have
Wild.
never, again, 25 assists to 3 turnovers. Like, it's just wild. Everything in this game statistically was just wild. Yeah. But hey, Auburn fans need a little pick me up after the
There you
Appalachian
go.
State game. Here it was. Like, this was the pick me up you needed to just throttle Indiana here. And yeah, like you said, UNC Asheville in that big game against USC coming up on Sunday. So yeah, big step back in the right direction for the Tigers, who we're just going to project they're going to hit at least 14 threes every game the rest of the way. So we're going to stay optimistic that can happen. But hey, again, if you get, let's say you win this game, like, I don't know, 73-72 or something, like you're coming out feeling, all right, well, we probably did something. No, we're just going to go out and score 104 and just run this team out of the gym. That's what you needed after the App State game. So, all right, boy, this next one. Sorry, Arkansas fans, we do have to talk about it. Oklahoma 79, Arkansas 70. I feel like we were just, all of our projections on who was going to play and who wasn't going to play. Well, winds up guys apparently were not as injured as we thought. Grant Nelson played. Trevor Brazile played. Eric Musselman was present for the game for a bit until he was not ejected. And yeah, this was just one that did not go well for the Hogs, I think, Max, to say the least. And I was trying to be optimistic. I picked them to win this game, but we kind of talked about it going in. We're like, hey, it seems pretty clear at this point when you look at Arkansas, their point distribution, where it's coming from. Like they're just not shooting the ball as well. They're having to get to the free throw line, which they did that here. I mean, he got there a lot, 31 times. But yeah, man. I mean, we said this was gonna be a tough game, right? Like people, if you were sleeping on Oklahoma at this point, they were 8-0. Tough, tough matchup. Going to Tulsa and play this game, and Arkansas just did not play well. How else do you say it? I mean, they're down 19 at one point in the second half, and not the performance you wanted if you were the Hawks.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that it was out to 19 because this was I mean, Oklahoma's good. Oklahoma's probably going to be a top 15 team. The AP poll comes out this week. So, yeah, I mean, Brazil definitely playing through injury. Only 0 points. Didn't look too explosive. Not the result you want. And I hate to say this, but man, like I love Tremont Mark and I love what he does. And he's a grinder and he does all the little things. Rebounding and perimeter defense is great. But the offense just does not have that pop when Mark's in the game. It gets very ISO heavy, excuse me. A lot of dribbling. Um, that game at home against Duke when Mark was out, it was a lot of battle. It was a lot of Brazil, a lot of Davenport and whatnot. So there's a little bit more spacing. So yeah, this offense just becomes so ISO heavy, and they just then it's a long rebound, bad shot, Oklahoma run out, and it just leads to more stuff down the road. So yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit worried about the offense right now, because I thought they were going to have much better shooting, a little bit better spacing, and I'm just not seeing it all right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, the facts are what they are, right? Arkansas is 6-4 right now through 10 games.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, like it's not an ideal place for them to be in, and we always say the same thing every year. It's like sometimes it takes teams a little longer and we've seen that with Muss's teams. Like, I mean, it seems like they're just starting a little earlier this year in terms of, when they struggle. Usually it's like, towards SEC play, first of SEC play, which we're almost there right now. But I mean, keep in mind too, at the Greensboro loss, yes, you shouldn't have lost that one. But the other three are acceptable losses, right? In terms of the
right.
competition, but probably not acceptable in terms of overall performance, maybe in those 3 games. But yeah, so it's we'll see. The chemistry's got to continue to come together here, I think, and I think yeah, like it's right now, if you had to tell me who are the 5 guys who are going to be on the floor for Arkansas a month from now with a minute to go, I don't know. It's hard to know. So
We've really only
you know,
seen like one solid 40-minute game against
yeah,
again at home with the
yeah,
crowd behind you, stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah.
some questions still.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the Hogs moving forward, and go ahead and circle the date against UNC Wilmington on December the 30th. So, but they got 2 before that: Lipscomb and Abilene Christian. So, all right, let's continue on. I don't have a lot on this game, Max. Florida 87, Richmond 76. I guess the biggest thing you can take away from this one is, well, Florida wins again. And remember, this is a team that is another one kind of felt like has let some of those opportunities in the non conference slip away. They're going to get Michigan next Tuesday. So that'll be the biggest one left for them. But overall, I mean, I still think it's pretty clear that you look at we know what the offensive upside is of this team. I mean, you can
Yep.
see this here, right? And whether it's Richard scoring 21, Samuel scores 18, Pullen 14, Kugel 11. You got Clayton and Logden both with 8, which is kind of the top 6 guys, right? Like you pretty much know what to expect. But when we talked about Richard having, had 6 against Baylor, had 3 against Wake Forest, and comes up big here with a 21-point game. And this is kind of the consistency I think scoring wise you need from all these guys, right? Because teams are keying in on Riley Kugel, but this is where having a Richard on the floor, having Clayton and Pullen, of course, added to the mix. Still turn it over, probably a little too much for their liking. 12 turnovers in this one, but yeah, I still think the Gators, they dominated the boards in this one, and not a lot to take away other than that. Probably for remember, I don't think this is a bad Richmond team, but maybe not one of the better Richmond teams in recent years. There,
We finally get a look at full strength Florida. Finally get a look.
finally,
Finally.
10 games
Ken
in.
Lofton, 8 and 10. Tyree Samuel, double double. Zion Pullen, double digits off the bench. Like, okay. Did one of the guards, Clayton, Kugel, or Richard, go off? Yes, they did, like usual. Okay, here's Florida. Okay, welcome, boys. Condon off the bench. So, yeah, I think we're going to start. I think Florida's only going to get better. I think, like, this is like the start. They pushed the -11 spread, probably turned it over too much, like you said. And here we go. We got a game against ECU, who we just saw is not a bad team at all. And then they go to Michigan. Let's see what Florida's made of because they got their team now. I think this is the rotation moving forward. I don't think they're waiting on anyone. This is it. It's pulling. It's 8-man rotation. Here we go, Florida.
Kansas 73, Missouri 64. This was the final game on the Saturday slate. Look, I mean, Missouri started off decent enough here, but when Kansas made its run, I think at that point you're just kind of like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, which was towards the end of the first half, right? Again, it's like I feel like it's only been 2 days, but like I feel like this game was played a week ago. It's like I think towards the end of the first half, Kansas just kind of made the run, and what were they? I think they were up 12 at half or something like that after Missouri
It
got
got
off
out
to a
of
good
hand
start.
quick.
Yeah, and that's just saying. Just they made their run, and Missouri got off to that quick lead. I mean, Kansas only had 6 points at the under 12, I think. Um, but then again, they turned it on from there, and I think that's going to be one of the things too for Missouri. Not to say they can't do it. Look, we saw them do it at Minnesota, right? They rallied from whatever it was, 20, 21 down, something like that. But I think against these kind of teams, last year I feel like they had sort of the offensive punch to be able to kind of, just hit 4 quick threes in succession or something, and just all of a sudden the game just quickly changes. I'm not saying they can't do that. I mean, but I just don't think they have the overall shooting. I mean, Nick Honor goes 4 of 8 here, has 17. Sean East has 21 to lead the way. No surprise, probably, but they needed more out of everyone else. And look on the other side, Hunter Dickinson does what he does, right? 13 points, 16 rebounds. That was one of our concerns was Missouri getting beaten on the glass. That happened. When you give up too many offensive rebounds or some, extra opportunities, Kansas didn't really need the three ball to do anything here. And so winds up being a 9-point game. I don't know that you ever just fully felt like Missouri, had a chance to make that rally to win the game. But yeah, I mean, again, I still though, you're not gonna maybe that disappointed about a 9-point loss on the road at Kansas if you're Missouri. I know it's a big rivalry game and all that. You never want to have moral victories in those kind of games, but I think there are still some things you can take away from Missouri that are positive. It's just this was always going to be a hard challenge, and again, it's once Kansas got rolling, they just couldn't be stopped here.
You lose Caleb Grill in this one too, right,
I
Blake?
forgot to mention that. Yeah, we saw that going into the game or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah, so you lose Caleb Grill, and you don't really know what you're going to get from John Tanji yet. Crushed on the glass, like you said. I mean, but that's what we expected. I mean,
oh,
Missouri looked good early. They fought. Um, but hey, I'm gonna keep saying it. Sean East, man. Sean East. 3 straight 20-point performances. He's top 5 in the country in 3-point percentage right now, 15 to 25. So low volume. Not sure if that 60% is gonna hold. But you like what you see out of Sean East and Nick Honor, whereas like you're looking down Missouri's schedule and some of these home conference games, you don't feel too bad about. You're like, okay, we've got some guys that can hit some shots and get the crowd behind us. But hey, I mean, you're going into Allen Fieldhouse. Pretty much, I would say, there's only a few teams in the country that are going to have a chance there right now. So you lose by 9, you make it close, good momentum going into the new week, practice and whatnot. So I'm not gonna knock Missouri for getting beat by one of the better teams. It's just, you like to see a little bit more from the front court is all I would say, I guess.
Seton Hall, Illinois, Central Arkansas, final 3 non-conference schedule games here for Missouri, and so 2 interesting games there, Seton Hall and
Yeah,
Illinois. So,
yeah.
we'll see because again, the Seton Hall team has had some, a couple close games. They lost that one to USC, I think. It was at Thanksgiving.
Seton Hall's got one of the better two guards in the country, Kadari Richmond.
Richmond, yep.
Yep.
So that's an interesting game. I think it's definitely a winnable game for Missouri. So we'll see what happens with that one. They'd like to get that one again. Illinois may be tough, given what we've seen from the Illini, but see what happens in that one. All right, to the Sunday games, we'll roll through here quickly. There's still one team in the SEC that is unbeaten, just like we called back in the summer, Max. The Ole Miss Rebels are now 9-0, and they just keep doing it. If there is ever this season, I'm not a professional bettor. Let me just tell you folks right now. If there is ever a game that Ole Miss plays in that the spread is not like 7 points or fewer, don't do it. Like, just take the point every single time. Take the points because this is just 70-68, right? Like, I mean, they find a way to win another close game. How many times have they done that this season? I'm telling you, I always talk about this. I don't care who you're playing against. That does mean something. Where if you just keep winning close game after close game after close game, that pays off in the long run because your guys are confident that they're going to find a way to make a play to win the game, no matter who they're playing against, whether it's Memphis by 3, UCF by 2, or it's beating Detroit Mercy by 1, right? Like there's a huge gap there in terms of the teams, but they just keep doing it. And now, guess what? The toughest part of their non conference schedule is over. They have 4 winnable games left against Cal, Troy, Southern Miss, and Bryant. And they're probably all going to be close. But right now, I'd be betting on Ole Miss every single time because this team just keeps finding ways. They do it here in this one. What else do we say, Max? I mean, it's just here we are. Ole Miss undefeated through 9 games.
Blake, if only there was someone saying Ole Miss was good in June. If only there was someone that was on
And they
this
don't even
team.
have one of the best players that we thought they would have, and they're still doing it.
Yeah. I mean, if only someone told you guys that this team was going to be good. Oh, wait. We
can
did.
boast a little bit here. That's
Come on.
Undefeated.
Undefeated Ole Miss Rebels. I thought they were going to be good. I didn't think they'd be a 9-0. Come on. This was one of those games that just proves this team is legit. You get Juju Murray in foul trouble early. Austin Nunez has to play 17 minutes. Okay. The 3 ball is not falling the way it usually would for Brakefield 0 of 2. You know, Jalen Murray 2 of 5 did all right. But then you got Morrell 2 of 3, but then he gets in foul trouble. Morrell's got to go out. You need TJ Caldwell to play 26 minutes. How about TJ Caldwell playing starter minutes? And they're only going to get better. Cisse, with his biggest game of the season so far, 24 minutes, was huge down the stretch with block shots in those last few possessions. I mean, this was a 2-point game, but Ole Miss was up by like 8. They almost blew it. But yeah, man, and I like how you said they just keep winning games, and there's value to that, and that's gotta be a little bit of coaching. I mean, Chris Beard's top 5 coach in the country. I've been saying it all offseason. He just is. Took Texas Tech to the national championship. Look at Texas Tech now. I mean, they're decent, not a national championship caliber. Took Texas to top 5 in the country. Look at Texas now, kind of reeling a little bit. And now he's got Ole Miss undefeated. I mean, this guy knows how to coach. You said business as usual earlier with South Carolina. Start to expect Ole Miss. Okay, this ain't Ole Miss of years past. They're here now.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but the rest of their schedule in the non-conference sets up pretty nicely here. So we'll see. We'll see if they're ranked. We'll see if they're ranked. Yeah, we'll see. All right, then the final game here: Memphis 81, Texas A&M 75. Man, Memphis gets how many wins? Let me see here.
That guy David Jones, man.
Memphis is 3-1 against the SEC now. They beat Missouri, they beat Arkansas, they beat A&M, but of course they didn't beat Ole Miss. But the most significant development here, if you didn't watch the game, Tyrese Radford is back, which is huge for Texas A&M. He played 24 minutes here, so seems like good to go now, which is significant. But also the Manny Obaseki game, which if you guys remember over the past couple of years, I feel like we talked about it every year. We've kind of mentioned who's the breakout guy. Like Manny Obaseki's name has come up because I think the Texas A&M coaching staff, I can remember just for mentioning him, as a guy who excited to see kind of how he continues to develop. But I think this was a career game for him, if I'm not wrong. I think 21 points was a career high for him.
Correct.
21 points in 21 minutes, by the way, too. So I don't know. I mean, look, it's a loss at home. Buzz Williams is never going to take that, lightly because it's just not what you want to do. It's not the standard that they've set there, but they shot it poorly. Another one where scoreline may be a little deceiving here because Memphis was kind of in control of this game late. But I still think that now that Radford's back into the mix, if you can get some consistent production out of Obaseki moving forward, like there's depth on this roster. This is disappointing, probably just given again, it's a home game, and you got Houston coming up on Saturday, which is just a monster game. But I don't know that I'm that moving that far away on A&M here just because they lost this one because I think Memphis is pretty good as we've seen. And so I don't know. I don't know that I really take a lot away from this game to be honest with you.
I mean, David Jones went off in the beginning.
Yeah.
So like you were put behind the 8 ball right away because the guy just goes ridiculous to start. I mean, anytime Wade Taylor and Tyrese Radford are going to combine for 0 for 14 from 3,
Right.
I would guess Texas A&M is not winning that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, scoreline a little bit deceiving. Memphis was in pretty good control of this game. A little bounce back win for Memphis after last time out. And I mean, they won an OT, but it was like a very poor game. They did not look good at all. Um, the thing with Texas A&M though that I'm starting to notice a little bit is teams are starting to not be scared to go into the paint on this team.
Yeah.
Memphis was just attacking, and I was like, where's that A&M toughness? Where's that? You still got rebounds galore from Anderson Garcia and stuff, but just teams aren't scared to drive in on this
Yeah.
team. And then Henry Coleman, no blocks. So yeah, I mean Memphis just attacked the hell out of the paint here. And this is what I'm going to say about Texas A&M because I've been saying this a lot. I've been saying, well, who's that other guy? They got the big three: Taylor, Coleman, Bradford. Who's the other guy? Who's going to do it? One game it was Jace Carter. One game it was Solomon Washington. This game it was Manny Obaseki. Who else do you want it to be? I mean, I bet Hafner's going to have a game, but it's like there's just no consistency outside that big three. It's just whoever's going to have a game that night, and you have no clue who it's going to be. So yeah, I'm not moving too far off Texas A&M either. I think you got to get Radford back in the mix, and they went over 14 from 3, him and Taylor. So
Yeah.
bad shooting night, bad result, but not the end of the world.
Well, you need everyone on their game on Saturday when they play Houston. It was like just all world in almost every defensive category there is. So, um, yeah. So that will be we will preview that game coming up, and we'll see if we can find a path for A&M because that's going to be a challenge in
Okay.
that game against that team, especially again defensively. But that one will be played in the Toyota Center in Houston. So we'll preview that one and all the other big games coming up on the weekend. But Max, boy, another interesting slate for the SEC. Some big wins, some disappointing losses, but again, we'll have them all covered here at Southeastern 14 for you guys. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. A lot of SEC football stuff as we head into the bowl season, getting ready for that. And of course, we'll have baseball on the way here soon enough as well. So appreciate you guys watching as always and or listening here at Southeastern 14. And we'll talk to you again here soon on the channel presented by Bet Online.